Alright everyone, now I'm going to show you how to import your hard work into Unity. At the top right, click the blue New button, and it's going to bring up this dialog window. Select the 3D template, make sure it's highlighted with this blue selection. Let's rename it. I'm going to name it Gear Up Training. And I'm going to set its location and press create. When you open up Unity, your layout isn't going to look like this. So I'm going to show you very briefly how to switch your layout to this here. We're going to start by moving our console window to right below the hierarchy window. We're going to do that by clicking where it says console, holding and dragging that. And as you can see, if we hover over different areas, it shows us everywhere that we can place it. We're going to place it right here underneath the hierarchy window. Next, we're going to move the project window to the left of the hierarchy window. So doing the same thing, we're going to click and drag where it says project and move it to the left of the hierarchy window. Lastly, we're going to want to make it so that we can see both our scene view and our game view at the same time. This means that we'll be able to see the window that we're editing with our 3D viewport, as well as the window that shows what our camera is viewing, what our game camera is currently seeing. In other words, whatever our player sees, they're going to see it through the game view. Whatever we can see as the game developer, moving and editing in a 3D viewport, in a 3D environment, we're going to be using the scene window. So I'm going to click and drag where it says game and move it right underneath the scene window. Finally, I'm going to click and drag by hovering over this line right here, this boundary. You'll see that the double arrows pop up. You're going to click and adjust it up. And do the same thing on this side with the console window. To save a layout, you can click this drop-down menu here and select Save Layout. Next, we're going to import all of our assets into the project window. Over here, in this area, I'm going to right-click, hover over Create, and then select Folder. This is going to create a new folder to contain items in. We're going to call it Blend Files. Then we're going to right-click, do the same thing again, press Create, Folder, and name it Texture Files. Sometimes, when we import our blend files into Unity, the textures are already attached. Sometimes they're not, and I'll show you an easy way of how to attach them if you find that they aren't staying with your object. For now, we're just going to upload our blend files. Double-click on the blend files folder to open it up. I'm going to expand this window just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. It can be incredibly helpful to click these three dots up at the top right and select one column layout, but I am very used to two column layouts, so I'm not going to do that today. Here I'm in my File Explorer and I found where my level 2 environment is, so I am going to click and drag that into this space. And then on release, it's going to import that. And you'll see that for me, it did not include any of the textures. I'm going to click and drag this into this space right here, the hierarchy area, and that'll place that model. As you can see, I forgot to delete two things from my blend file, and those are the camera and the light. So we are going to open up this game object. Each individual item here in this hierarchy window, they're called game objects. You want to click this triangle to open up level 2, version 2, or whatever you named your blend file. We're going to right click the game object, and we're going to select prefab and then unpack completely. That's going to allow us to make edits to this without changing the original file. If you want to change the original file, you could go ahead and double click where your blend file is, and that'll open up Blender, and you can delete them from there. And that's actually going to update and make it so that they're gone in Unity as well. But for now, I'm just going to select camera, hold shift, and select light, right click, and press delete. You can see that it changed our game view back to the main camera. This main camera, by the way, is what currently is determining what the player would be able to see. Go ahead and adjust that if you want to. Next, we're going to go to Texture Files, go back to the File Explorer, and find where your textures are. Mine is called walls_texture. Then we are going to right click, hover over create, and then select material, because we have the texture file, but in order to translate that into a material that can connect to our mesh, we want to create a material and then attach that texture file. So we're going to name that level 2 walls_mat, standing for material. Then I'm going to click and drag the walls_texture file, and if you go over to the inspector, which is this window over here to the right, something that I didn't go over, but Dylan and Brandon will go over a lot more in depth. This allows you to adjust properties of other things such as game objects and materials. So up here where it says albedo, this controls the color of our texture. It also controls whether or not it's run off of a image texture, and we want to put that inside of this little box here. So to do that, we're going to click and drag this image texture and place it inside of this little box. Go ahead and do that. Click walls_texture and drag, and you'll see that it lets you highlight that place and then release, and you can see that it placed that image there. You'll notice that nothing happened here on our scene window, and that's because we actually haven't attached the material to our game object yet. So let's do that now. There are two ways that we can. We can either attach it to this walls game object here. If you click it, you'll see that this orange outline appears. That means we're selecting that game object. Or you can click and drag this directly onto the object in the scene window. So we're going to do it that way. I'm going to click and drag and then release, and you'll see that that places our texture. I'm going to repeat the same step for these storage crates here. I'm going to select my two storage crate textures and drag them into this. Now that we have our two storage crate texture files, we're going to want to create two materials for those. I'm going to right click, press create, material, and I'm going to name this crate, capital LG for large _mat. I spelled that a little crazy there, so I'm going to click it once after it's already selected. You don't want to double click it. If you are already selecting the object, you just click it once on its name, and in a second it'll let you rename it. So let's do that here. And I'm going to make that a lowercase. Perfect. And I'm actually going to duplicate this blank material to create the template for the other one. While that's selected, press Ctrl D, and we're going to rename that. To crate SM. Now we're going to attach the small crate texture to the albedo spot right there, and doing the same with the large crate. And now let's go ahead and place all of these materials on each crate. I'll start with the small ones. and then the large. There you go. And now you know how to set up everything else in Unity. All of the other objects are the exact same way. You want to go ahead and just place them in your environment, create a material, attach that texture file to the material, and then attach the material to the game object. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope that was helpful. Have a wonderful day.